From NJPBS Studios, this is NJ Spotlight News with Brianna Venozzi.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night. I'm Brianna Venozzi. Tonight, a few stories we'll get into later in the broadcast. A powerful nor'easter pounds the Jersey coastline. We take a look at the hardest hit areas and cleanup efforts. Then day 14 of the government shutdown. What, if anything, are New Jersey lawmakers doing to break the stalemate? And later, as the gubernatorial race enters the final stretch, we look at the candidates' stances on policing in response to mental health crises. But first, a few of today's top headlines. Public safety advocates are celebrating a key legal win in a landmark case against firearms manufacturer Glock. A Superior Court judge today ruled in favor of allowing a lawsuit against Glock filed by AG Matt Platkin last December to move forward. Now, his office accused the manufacturer of designing and selling handguns that can easily be converted into illegal machine guns using a small plastic device that can be purchased online or made with a 3D printer. The lawsuit is part of a broader push by the state to address gun-related crimes, which officials say have reached historic lows over the past 3 years. The court rejected each of Glock's motions to dismiss, and the company hasn't publicly commented on today's ruling. But the case raises complex questions about firearm design and public safety. Legal experts say it could set precedent as states across the country increasingly challenge gun makers in court. Also tonight, a major court action has hit pause on a controversial gas power plant project in Newark's Ironbound. A Superior Court judge in Essex County ordered the Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission to halt construction while a lawsuit to kill the project continues through the courts. It's the latest twist in a long-running saga over the proposed $180 million facility designed to provide emergency power to the city's sewage treatment plant, part of a resiliency plan after Hurricane Sandy, when the plant was knocked offline and dumped hundreds of millions of gallons of raw sewage into Newark Bay. Community and environmental leaders, though, criticized the location, which is already home to 3 gas power plants, a Superfund site, and the state's largest incinerator. They say it's one of the most overburdened communities in New Jersey. The judge's order came after the city of Newark and the Ironbound Community Corporation sued, arguing the project will worsen asthma rates and pollution, among other things, for residents in the neighborhood, and said it was in violation of the state's environmental justice law. Both the PVSC and DEP today declined to comment. The case returns to court October 27th. And the U.S. Naval Academy is investigating the death of a 20-year-old midshipman from Morris County. Authorities say Kyle Filbert James, a junior at the military school and a native of Whippany in Hanover Township, was first reported missing on October 9th after failing to show up for his classes. According to reports, James's mother received a call from the academy that evening stating he couldn't be located and later confirmed his death. The Naval Academy hasn't released details about where or how James was found and says the circumstances are under investigation. Now, in a statement, officials there said, quote, "It is painful to lose a member of our Naval Academy family, and as we attempt to better understand this tremendous loss, we offer our deepest condolences to Filbert James's family, close friends, classmates, and company mates." James was majoring in history and was a member of the school's gospel choir. Congresswoman and gubernatorial nominee Mikey Sherrill also extended condolences to his family, saying she was proud to nominate Kyle to the academy. Coming up, record flooding. We take a look at the impact of this weekend's nor'easter on the shoreline. That's next.
Funding for NJ Spotlight News provided by the members of the New Jersey Education Association, making public schools great for every child. RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together. And Orsted, committed to delivering clean, reliable, American-made energy.
Well, between relentless wind and record-breaking tides, this weekend's powerful nor'easter left a major mark along the Jersey Shore. Coastal communities from Cape May to Monmouth County were hit hard by flooding and erosion. With the heart of storm season still ahead, experts warn this could be just the beginning. Senior correspondent Joanna Gagas reports.
This was a significant nor'easter for most of the Jersey Shore. This was a top 10 flood event for southern Monmouth County all the way down to Cape May.
The nor'easter that struck the state this weekend, blasting the shore region with gale force winds even through today, caused flooding all along the coast.
There were some areas that saw up to 5 consecutive high tides that were in flood stage. The most significant tides were in the central part of Ocean County. Waretown saw a record highest tide for there.
At least at Barnegat Light, it is the highest tide since Hurricane Sandy.
Those tidal floods were a direct result of the wind, says National Service meteorologist Alex Starman.
Essentially what we had was about 36 to 48 hours of sustained northeast gale force winds, with stronger gusts up to storm force, which is around 60 miles per hour.
Island Beach State Park and Avalon were two towns in particular that saw storm force winds pushing water inland, says Joe Martucci, founder of Cup of Joe Weather and Drone, a Jersey-based meteorology service. In Seagirt, about a dozen people had to be rescued from cars. The fire department gave this young man a ride home when his school bus was stranded. Residents and business owners up and down the coast posted videos of sea levels taking over their streets and properties. Some good news, though, no deaths were reported in New Jersey, although a total of 3 people died in other states from incidents related to the storm. But Martucci is very concerned about the storm's impact on beach erosion.
This is not a good situation for our beaches because of what we saw in Erin in late August, which already brought a good amount of beach erosion. There are a number of beaches that are in bad shape. In particular, Avalon, the northern end of the beach has just cliffs from where you would try to walk down onto the beach. North Wildwood, another hot spot, for beach erosion.
Manasquan also saw significant flooding throughout the borough, and Mayor Mike Mangan is worried about erosion there as well.
That's probably the biggest headline from this storm is the coastal erosion, how much sand we lost. I did a tour of the beach just this morning, and I also was monitoring it throughout the storm. The amount of sand we lost was massive. And so we're going to be definitely looking to our federal and state partners to try and help us replenish that before next year.
Every time I see these floodwaters rise, and it feels like it happens all the time now, I wonder how resilient are these homes? How resilient are these businesses, especially post-Sandy? Are these floods having major impact that are costly for residents and business owners?
The reality is people are more prepared than ever. Homes are lifted. The warning systems that we have in place are better than they've ever been. What we need is help from the federal and state government in terms of the public infrastructure. One example, we have our northern border of town is a lake that is connected to the ocean, so it's a tidal lake. We saw flooding significantly from there, but the water comes over the street and makes it impassable, and it's one of the main routes in and out of town. A 4-foot retaining wall along that entire road would make that road passable for the entirety of an event like this.
He says it's critical for people to get in and out of town, especially in emergency situations. Throughout the day today, a flood advisory was in effect all along the shore.
We are expecting an additional round of widespread minor coastal flooding with the high tide this afternoon and evening. That'll be especially the case for the back bays of Ocean, Atlantic, Cape May, counties.
And given the timing in the season, meteorologists worry about the frequency and severity of these storms.
This is not where you want to be in mid-October, considering we have about another 6 months of potential nor'easters to come. And by the way, we're not done with hurricane season yet. We have that until November 30th.
So for now, the worst is likely over, but deep concerns remain about the resiliency of our coast. For NJ Spotlight News, I'm Joanna Gagis.
The federal government shutdown is now in its 14th day with no clear path to reopening. Congress remains deadlocked with health care funding and subsidies at the center of the standoff, all as mass layoffs hit federal workers and pressure mounts both in Washington and across the country. Let's get the latest from Capitol Hill with our Washington, D.C. correspondent, Ben Hulak. Ben, good to see you. An empty rotunda, it looks like, behind there. What's the latest? What is keeping lawmakers essentially from reaching a deal here?
They are at an impasse over how to reopen the government. That's sort of an obvious statement, but not a lot has shifted since we last talked last week or maybe the week prior. We're 3 weeks into this and there isn't a clear path forward. There is no bipartisan deal on the table. There's no bill text that has been released, which is really the nitty-gritty step you need to make this happen, to get the lights back on. And the latest twist, I would point out, yes, the building behind me is empty. It's sort of a ghost town feel up here. The latest maneuver came from the White House on Friday when the budget chief over there, a man named Russ Vought, announced these mass RIFs. RIF is a term for reduction in force, RIF, and made this announcement on the Friday afternoon before a federal holiday weekend, 3-day weekend. And this is a maneuver the White House has been dangling for weeks now to fire federal workers in a sort of carte blanche mass maneuver without any sort of clear reason, but as a bargaining chip with Democrats to back Republican spending bills and reopen the government.
Yeah, I mean, what type of impact then is that having? How is that playing for folks who have constituents who may be part of those layoffs?
It doesn't seem to be moving the needle a whole lot with the New Jersey delegation. New Jersey does not have a massive amount of federal workers. Last number I've seen that I trust is about 22,000, but that was from September of last year, before the new Trump administration came in and before the Doge cuts, if we remember those back in the spring with Elon Musk. And of course, without these deferred resignations that federal workers have taken. So the number is almost certainly lower. It is playing a big role, I will say, in the surrounding communities around DC, Maryland, Virginia, where a lot of federal workers live. There are Democrats holding rallies in these areas with fired or at-risk federal workers, but it's not moving up the needle a whole lot with the people who will ultimately make a call about reopening the government. This is effectively a decision that's now happening at the leadership level. This is the top members of both parties within both chambers and the White House making this choice. And the rank and file don't have a lot of input really at this point. Of course, the input will come from them when and if we get a bill on the floor. You've got to get 218 votes in the House and 60 votes in the Senate, and Republicans hold both chambers, but they, again, need Democrats to make this happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked quite a bit about the impact on services, particularly at airports. Congressman Gottheimer had an event today to point that out as well. I wonder, though, if there's any realistic path forward, given the pressure on those federal workers who are essentially propping up the airline industry, among many, and whether or not this could turn out to be one of the longest shutdowns, as we saw back in 2018 and 19.
We don't know. It's sort of hard to look on our crystal balls and see the future, of course, but we do know that shutdowns have come to an end in large part due to sick outs, effectively, by TSA personnel, airport personnel, who in past shutdowns have gotten sick of going to work and not getting paid for that labor, that time, and have called in sick en masse. That is certainly a trigger to get out of this. I'd also point out people will soon start missing paychecks. October 15th, which is tomorrow, is a paycheck date that had been scheduled for troops, for the military. They, at this point, are likely to miss that, although Trump has said that he directed over the weekend the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, to find a workaround, effectively, to find the money elsewhere and raid other Defense Department funds to pay troops. It's not clear if he can do that. There are technical guidelines about who can get paid and how people are paid during shutdowns, but it's, of course, really politically edgy or dangerous, perhaps, to cut pay for the troops. That's something no party wants to touch. And then the other issue we're talking about here that I'm sure you'd like to get into a little bit is healthcare. Healthcare is out there looming in November.
Yeah, I mean, November 1st is the ACA enrollment date. Is there any indication that Democrats are holding out for that? Or is that the urgent date that they're looking at?
The answer, I think, is yes, an unequivocal yes. Their argument has been since the start of this shutdown back in late September that people need to plan for their healthcare costs and their healthcare needs. And that planning starts effectively now. Of course, the official deadline for open enrollment is November 1, but people need to be making decisions for them, for their kids, for their family, really quickly. And so that's what Democrats have been pushing for consistently for about 3 weeks now.
All right, Ben, we'll be checking back in with you as the week goes on. Ben Hulak for us from Washington, D.C. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, as voters prepare to elect the state's next governor, a key issue on the ballot isn't just taxes or affordable housing, but the way New Jersey law enforcement responds to individuals in a mental health crisis. A string of deadly police encounters with people in distress has put more focus on emergency response programs like Arrive Together, which pairs mental health professionals with officers. The two leading candidates, Democrat Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill and Republican Jack Ciattarelli, have different visions for the future of those programs and for police accountability. Our mental health writer Bobby Breyer joins us now to take a deeper look at those plans. Bobby, good to see you. A lot to get into here. Mikey Sherrill is embracing the Arrive Together program. This, of course, was put in place under the current Attorney General Matt Platkin. What's her vision for its future?
Yeah, Bree, right now, she has said that she would support fully funding this program. Essentially, she sees this as an extension of a way to pair police officers and mental health professionals in order to respond to some of these really serious mental health emergencies. She has also showed that she'd continue to support funding for what she called other mental health programs that would look like hospital-based violence intervention and prevention services. So that was kind of her vision for the future. Her campaign did not elaborate into what exactly she would go into in terms of fully supporting it. We know that right now this is a pilot program that has received $20 million in the current budget. It's still one that has to be codified into law. There's a bill pending to codify that into law, but she has shown thus far that she would support it. It's slightly different, however, from Jack Ciattarelli's vision of what police officers and mental health professionals may do in some of these emergency response situations. He showed that he was in support of the program in calling it a thoughtful attempt. However, he said police officers should use their best judgment in these kinds of situations, noting that they're trained to de-escalate tense situations, and he said react accordingly. He included that may include in some situations a licensed clinical social worker. So right now it sounds as if Ciattarelli's approach may give more discretion to police officers in these types of situations. However, he did note that he would also continue to fund community and hospital-based violence intervention programs. So some of those key differences between those two candidates as we head into Election Day.
Yeah, he essentially supports the idea in principle. There is a lot of attention on Arrive Together, especially because of the reach that it has now in the state. But a lot of advocates have touted community-based solutions. Are the candidates talking about those? Are they just not as visible? Are they talking about putting more resources, more state funding behind some of them? And what are they?
You know, they've only raised those issues when they've been asked. When I spoke to some of the candidates just via email, they said in very quick, brief statements that they would support community-based and hospital-based violence intervention programs. They really didn't elaborate on that, though. That has drawn the concern of many social justice advocates across the state who remain skeptical of both candidates' approaches to mental health emergency response. One advocate had told me that while they're really not enthused with either candidate's approach to these issues or to police accountability, they said that they have to have a clear-eyed approach to what's on the line, noting that these policies, whoever the next governor may be, will have a direct impact on Black, Brown, and immigrant communities. So those were the key issues that they're looking at right now, and it kind of remains to be seen whether either candidate will really come to the table for social justice advocates, so to speak, in these days ahead. But it is something that we're continuing to watch and monitor as we come down to election day.
Yeah, I mean, what do those social justice advocates say? Because they're sort of not convinced by where either candidate is at this point. Are there specific tenets that they're looking for one of the candidates to latch onto?
Yeah, they see, Mikey Sherrill right now as somebody, while they're not totally convinced of what she is saying in terms of her platforms, they see her as a candidate that may be able to may be more willing to come to the table for some of these issues. As we know right now, there's some legislation that's still on the table related to civilian complaint review boards, as well as the Attorney General's office revising their use of force policy, two bills that are pending in the legislature that many advocates would like to see passed and signed into law. It's also coming at a time, though, when we've seen the Seabrooks-Washington bill signed into law in 2024. Many advocates, while touting the benefits of that from a community-led crisis response model, have really been frustrated with the implementation of some of that funding. They think that coming to the table with Cheryl may be a possibility for them in the days ahead. They have not seen that as much from Chitterelli's campaign. While Chitterelli did tell me in a statement that he would support community and violence-based hospital-based violence intervention programs, it kind of comes at odds with what the federal government is doing, the Trump administration is doing, with some of these cuts to community-based violence intervention programs. Back in April, if you'd remember, the Cure for Camden, as well as the Newark Community Street Team, were some of these community-based violence intervention programs in the state that were impacted by some of these federal funding cuts, having to lay off employees or kind of end services altogether. So it kind of remains to be seen where Chitterelli stands on this directly.
Yeah.
While he said that in principle, it's something that we may not see if he were to be elected.
Quickly, yes or no, in a couple of seconds we have left. Would either of these candidates keep Matt Platkin on as Attorney General?
They would not. They both stated either in debates or during podcast interviews that they would not keep him on. That's an important point to make here because Platkin has really championed the Rive Together program and really built it up into be a statewide program since it was introduced in late 2021.
All right, Bobby Breyer for us. You can read all of Bobby's reporting on this on our website, njspotlightnews.org. Bobby, thanks.
Thanks, Brianna.
And a big Emmy win this weekend for a story we first brought you last year at the height of the war in Ukraine. It was about a children's book discussing the war from a child's perspective by telling the true story of a much-loved cat named Messi. In honor of the win, we're taking a look back at the piece put together by senior correspondent Brenda Flanagan, senior editorial producer Julie Dorio, and videographer Maddie Rosen.
This story is about how two teens connected to create a children's book about the war in Ukraine and a much-loved cat named Messi. The plush kitten belongs to Irina Cherniak, who was 11 years old, living in Kyiv when Russia launched the first missile strikes. Like many families, they fled for their lives and left pets behind. In the book, Irina tells her beloved Messi, "I will be home soon, my Kishka." On the road with refugees, she remembers explosions.
Bomb and siren.
Siren?
Yes. And so scary.
Irina speaks in halting English. Her mom thought they'd be home in a couple of weeks.
All my things was about Messi, how she stay alone at home.
Family and friends tried to rescue Messi, but the terrified cat escaped her carrier in Lviv. The news devastated Irina, who urged her mother to post internet photos in a desperate search from their hotel room in Warsaw.
Irina forced me to post in internet that we lost Messi. I don't believe in that. I don't believe. I said it's not can help because it's a war. Who will find some cat? But she said, "Mom, you need to do post. You need to do post."
Being nervous about where Messi was, if she was ever going to see Messi again, kind of just made the whole situation a whole lot worse.
Trevor Osfeld's a high school junior from Tenafly who met Irina during a trip to bring humanitarian aid to Ukrainian refugees. His synagogue, Temple Emmanuel, delivered 9,000 pounds of supplies for families stranded by war. As Irina told their group about how she needed to find Messi, it reminded Trevor about his own pet, Rocket.
Just like losing another thing, like a best friend. Like Rocket I spend a ton of time with Rocket.
Trevor's family also has deep roots in Ukraine. His great-great-grandfather was executed during pogroms there. His own family fled persecution.
It's not easy fleeing as a little child with your small family, going to a new place where you don't speak the language.
Meanwhile, the search for Messi continued. People sent photos, and finally, miraculously, one of them was Messi. Irina's stepdad carried the little cat to Warsaw and Irina's arms. Her mom translates.
I think it was one of the happiest days in my life.
I started to realize that the story is, number one, inspiring, by showing how many people came together, in a time of war to help a girl get her cat back.
As Trevor worked on writing the book, he took care to present a story that helps children understand what it means to be displaced by war. Finding Messi, who, yes, was named for the soccer star, resonates with kids. It's a story of community, Irina's determination, and hope, says crisis counselor Jen Velton.
Having a very specific goal and not giving up on that goal meant just a world of healing and possibility for her when everything else was shattering. When bombs were raining down, she felt in her heart, I can and I will be reunited with this animal.
Even if you don't understand completely the politics of the war, the effects of the war in terms of data, almost everybody understands what it's like to lose a pet.
The book is selling briskly, and all of the proceeds go to benefit refugees of the war in Ukraine. As for Messi and Irina, they're doing okay. Irina's 13 now, in 7th grade. Messi's back in Warsaw.
Good, she's so happy, I think.
How are you?
Good.
They're hoping for another miracle, to go back home to Kyiv. The book is dedicated to the children of Ukraine. I'm Brenda Flanagan, NJ Spotlight News.
That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Brianna Vannozzi. For the entire team at NJ Spotlight News, thanks for being with us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
NJM Insurance Group, serving the insurance needs of residents and businesses for more than 100 years. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, and by the PSCG Foundation.